And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Tonight, I have something extra special for you. Tonight, our guest back for a second visit with us, Amanda Grandinetti, two-time kidney transplant recipient, PhD candidate, and speaker on behalf of the Kidney Health Initiative and winner of the Celeste Lee Endowed Lectureship for Kidney Week in 2023. Amanda is the manager of research and medical specialty, where she leads the development, implementation, testing, and evaluation of quality members. She has also been involved in the development of clinical practice guidelines and qualified clinical data registries. Amanda has dedicated her career to helping physicians improve their quality of care, embedding the patient perspective into all levels of healthcare delivery, and helping patients gain access to high quality and low cost healthcare. And we all like low cost healthcare, Amanda. She is also a PhD student focusing on studying patient reported outcomes in dialysis patient. This is her passion. This is not just a hobby. It is a way of life for my friend. She is dedicated to helping kidney patients in whatever way she can. Amanda has had FSGS for the past 19 years. Her kidneys failed as a senior in undergraduate studies. She was placed on hemodialysis. She received a kidney from a friend in 2013, but unfortunately, that transplant was unsuccessful after only 3 short weeks. She was placed on peritoneal dialysis, and at that time, she began studying for her master's. Amanda received her second kidney transplant from another friend in 2014 and has been on 100% kidney function ever since. I talked to Amanda before the show tonight. Kidney's doing great. Way to go, Amanda. Amanda is are you the vice chair now, or are you head lady in charge? Vice chair of Kidney Health Initiative Patient and Family Partnership Council. She also works with NephCure Kidney International and the National Kidney Foundation to advocate for policy and research. She independently works with many pharmacological companies, Gildred, Goldfinch Bio, AstraZeneca, just to name a few, to include patient-reported outcome measures in every stage of the device and drug development. She has also been involved in technical expert panels led by the University of Michigan Kidney Epidemiology Cost Center and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and has served as a peer reviewer for the Department of Defense Congressionally Directed Medical Research Program. Amanda believes her diverse background and as a professional in clinical quality and research, that this will provide a unique perspective in her kidney advocacy efforts. Please give a warm welcome to a friend of the show, Amanda Grandinetti. Amanda, how are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. Glad to be back.
All right. did I state everything correctly in the introduction? It's been a while since we talked. Are there things we need to update?
Yes, I totally forgot to update that. I'm not the vice chair anymore. I was moved on to chair and I graduated from that. And I'm sitting on the board of directors right now. So other people are continuing the great work on the PFPC, but that's my bad.
All right, bad Uncle Jim. Got to get things right here. We already have somebody on saying what a great introduction it is. They haven't seen anything yet. Hold on to your seat. Miss Amanda's with us tonight. Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and your employment experiences.
Yeah, I've been here my whole life in the Chicagoland area. Um, I was diagnosed with FSGS when I was 14. I'm going to be 34 in 2 weeks. It's kind of crazy. Um, got my bachelor's of science in psychology research methods and went on to get my master's of public health when I was on dialysis. And right now I am studying to get my PhD in health sciences, which really is like a fancy way of saying like we're trying to figure out complex health problems with a multidisciplinary team. It's kind of more of like a leadership role that I'm pursuing. I've worked with many different people, many different groups. I've worked in nonprofits for lots of medical specialties. I've worked with many larger pharmaceutical companies working on some of their kidney disease products, patient advisory boards, just doing some consulting work. I've worked with National Kidney Foundation, NephCure. My last role was at Goldfinch Bio. Unfortunately, with all the tech layoffs, they are no longer pursuing that drug anymore. So that was unfortunate. But I've been doing some research consulting since then while I'm trying to finish up my PhD.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your kidney history. You mentioned that you were first diagnosed with FSGS when you were 14. Can you tell us a little bit about what FSGS is?
Yes, FSGS is focal segmental glomerular sclerosis, and it's a rare kidney disease that affects the small part of the kidney nephron called the glomerulus. A lot of times it's just scarred in a small, tiny part of the glomerulus. Um, I was diagnosed when I was 14. It was right before I went to high school. And the first sign of it actually was my mom telling me that it looked like I had allergies in the morning. I didn't notice it. So I guess my eyes were really kind of puffy in the morning. And I noticed that I was gaining weight at the time. I'd never had that problem before. Thinking, oh, I need to get in shape. I'm about to be in high school. And went on actually a family trip, our first family vacation in another state. And the next day I woke up and I had edema all over my body. I couldn't walk, couldn't bend my knees. I mean, I couldn't see out of my eyes. Really freaked everyone out. Ended up going to the hospital and staying overnight. And, at the time I knew that they knew what was going on. I obviously didn't know. My family didn't know either. But when I came back to Chicago, got a biopsy, and I was actually diagnosed with something called minimal change. And it turned out that I actually didn't have that. They just didn't get the tissue that was affected from the FSGS. So about a year after that, I was formally diagnosed with FSGS.
Okay. So you were a pediatric kidney patient to start out.
Yeah,
What was that
yes.
like?
It was really awful. I mean, whenever you have a chronic disease when you're a child, it really sucks. But I had a really hard time because there aren't any treatments for FSGS. Nothing really works. They didn't, at the time, it was 2004. We know a lot more now than we did then. We still don't know that much now, but it's definitely a big improvement. And there's a lot of money being thrown at FSGS, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, there was really no medications. Like I said, there still aren't now, but I went on high dose prednisone, which made me incredibly miserable. It made me look deformed, really puffy, not like myself, gained like a lot of weight. I developed cataracts at 14. It really permanently like disfigured my body. I went on Cytoxin. At the time, they thought that worked, which is like a really old chemotherapy. So not only did I look deformed from taking prednisone, I lost all my hair, and I can laugh at it now because that was a long time ago. But it was just really miserable. Like, you get made fun of in school, and I just wanted to like be a regular teenager and go out. And I was sick all the time. I was hospitalized all the time. Um, I had terrible edema, like at all times, and just constantly relapsing and yeah, just really unable to enjoy being a teenager.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your dialysis experience. I understand that you were actually placed on dialysis 2 times. What was dialysis like initially the first time that you were on it?
Yeah, I crashed into dialysis. So there really is like no reason for most people to crash into it. Like I had kidney disease, my team should have known that, it was going a certain direction and we could have probably prepared for that, or I could have enlisted on the transplant list sooner so I wouldn't have to experience the things that I did during my first transplant. But it was pretty awful. I was terrified. Like my whole childhood, I thought that having kidney disease meant that I was gonna like die. No one really sat down and talked to me about what it meant. And it was 2004, so we like had Google, but like it wasn't like how it is now. So I was just really scared all the time and really fearful. So when I went on dialysis, I didn't really know what it meant, and that's kind of saying a lot because I was actually a nursing student at the time. I was doing nursing and psych. And yeah, I thought that was the end of my life. I thought that nothing was ever going to work out. I was 22 at the time. Um, it was really terrifying and it made me just really angry, like at the entire healthcare system and just like at life in general. But to my surprise, I improved a little bit when I got on dialysis. Um, just getting that fluid off was a miracle for me, but that really didn't last long. It was a really terrible experience that has definitely changed me. Just being in the clinic with people that are like, at least in my clinic, everyone seemed like they were in pain all the time, and you see people pass in front of your eyes, and I just like wanted to be on my campus enjoying school. And I was on it like on my graduation day. I went to graduation and I went to dialysis after. So it was pretty awful. I got terrible washouts, terrible migraines. I would throw up, my blood pressure would bottom out, and I started getting anxiety from just the thought of going in to dialysis. And my center was pretty awful too. Like it didn't seem like anyone really cared about anyone's well-being in there. So it was just a really awful experience. And I think for me, that was kind of like a turning point on really deciding to pursue healthcare in a different way than I wanted to before.
Okay. Um, so you were actually in an adult care unit,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep.
And you were doing in-center hemodialysis
Yep.
3 times a week?
3 times a week. I was on it for nearly 4 hours. When I was on it, they were like, "Oh, this will be temporary. Like you're really young, you'll do good on dialysis." But that wasn't the truth at all. I did really terrible. My body made a ton of toxins, so it was just completely not the case for me.
How long were you on dialysis the first time?
I was on it for maybe 15 months. I had a permacath in my chest. I didn't want to pursue a fistula or anything else because I had a donor at the time, but it was 15 months on chemo. And I got my first transplant. That didn't work out. I was actually on chemo the entire time for that and continued it for a couple months until I could transition to PD. And so in total, I was on dialysis like 2.5 years.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit within the limits that you can about your first transplant. I understand that you were somewhat limited about what you can discuss. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. It just was the hospital was not a good fit for me, and there were signs, but like at the time when you're going through like something as crazy as a transplant, like no one prepares you for that. And I just feel like there's not many ways that you can really learn about it until you're going through it. Like, you know, I'll shout out Kidney Solutions now. There's, they help people get through that experience. But at the time, I didn't really have anything. But yeah, I experienced my transplant when I was transitioning from pediatric to adult care, and they just didn't have my best interest. Um, that I ended up being in the hospital for about a month. My kidney lasted 3 weeks, and it wasn't due to anything wrong with the kidney or anything I did, but it was just a really traumatic experience. And if dialysis didn't change my path, which it did, and how I think about healthcare, like that first transplant definitely made me want to change how we operate in the community.
Okay. So the second time you were on dialysis, we're talking about peritoneal dialysis at home. Is that correct?
Yes, I learned about PD through some friends actually on Tumblr. I didn't know who you were at the time, but I realized that I was kind of like, it's just weird to see how things work out because I had seen, you had kidney stories on Tumblr, and then I'm talking with you now, how many years later? So that's really cool. But I met some younger women who were on dialysis on Tumblr, and I wasn't actually told anything about PD um, when I went on hemo, and I just got even more sick on dialysis on hemo after my transplant. It just was like, I mean, dialysis almost killed me less than a year that I was on it because it just was like not the right fit for me. And it's just like, I mean, that's how dialysis is. But when I learned about some of the benefits, I had to take you know, the lesser of evils, I guess. So I was on PD for 12 hours a day on the cycler. So it's a long prescription. And then I would have to do like 1 to 2 manual exchanges a day. So I was on dialysis like 16, 17 hours a day, but it was kind of a lifesaver because it was more gentle and I could like be at home in my bed. I could have friends over. I could eat a little bit more. It just didn't make me sick like chemo did.
Okay. Approximately when was your second kidney transplant? When did that take place?
My second was actually exactly a year after my first. So my first was on March 4th, 2013, and my second was on March 19th, 2014. This is
All
really
right. And I understand that this was also a live kidney donation. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm extremely lucky. I had another friend that wanted to donate. My first donor was a family friend and was just super grateful that, when I learned that I needed a transplant, she stepped up immediately and was just so grateful that I didn't even have to ask. She was just like ready and willing to do it. And then my second donor, who she was my best friend, we still talk. I actually talked to her earlier today, but we lived on the same floor in college, and we worked as RAs together, and she was there the whole time during my first transplant. And just really fortunate that she stepped up immediately, and I got relisted like 6 months after I had that kidney, and she was 100% matched too. So super lucky.
Okay. What's this friend's first name?
Kristen.
All right. We've got a hero in our midst.
Yes, she's awesome.
Where was this transplant done? Where did it take place?
I went to Rush, and I'm still at Rush. So the second one was at Rush University in Chicago, and love them. Really small team, but like everyone knows you, and like if my doctor like wasn't there one day, like another doctor would be able to take care of me, and that was like something really important, that the people that were taking care of me like actually knew me and my situation and were just like reading a chart and making like recommendations.
Excellent. Excellent. Were there any issues or complications at the time of your second kidney transplant?
No, there wasn't really any. I did get recurrence of my FSGS probably within 3 days. There was some protein in the urine. And another reason why Rush is so great is, we talked about this happening before I even got the transplant. Like we had an entire plan in place. And with FSGS, like it just feels like such like a helpless disease because you can get recurrence and it may never go away. And I know people who have gotten like up to 5 transplants just to try to live a normal life with FSGS. But we made a plan to say, like, if my protein hits this level, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to take action. Like, we're not waiting. And that ended up happening. And I went on, plasmapheresis. I did 2 rounds of it. So 2 weeks, and I got Rituxan after that, and the FSGS never came back. So I'm extremely lucky. And I attribute
Good.
that to, my team working together and like taking action like immediately.
Good. Just so our audience understands, FSGS can cross over
Hmm.
to your new kidney transplant, correct?
Yeah, that's why it's like one of the even growing up, like with it, every time I went to the hospital, they're like, "Oh, that's the worst kidney disease to have," and I'd be like, "Thanks, that makes me feel a lot better."
Gee, thanks.
Yeah, hearing that from doctors and nurses, but yeah, it can come into the new kidney. It's like one of the rare diseases that can really happen to.
Let's talk about your current kidney health. How are things going with your kidneys now? Are there any current health issues or complications?
No, everything is amazing. I really like thinking back to where I was like 10 years ago. I really never thought that I could be living this way. Kidneys working at 100%. I've never had like any episode of rejection. My FSGS never came back after that initial episode when I first got this transplant. So everything's been like amazing.
Great, great. Let's talk a little bit about your current kidney advocacy work. What kinds of things are you doing currently?
Currently, I'm on the Kidney Health Initiative Board of Directors. So, the Kidney Health Initiative is a smaller group in the American Society of Nephrology, and it's a partnership between the FDA and the American Society of Nephrology to like work together to bring innovation to the kidney space. There's a lot of biotech companies, pharmaceutical companies, there's, patient advocacy groups, hospital centers, insurance companies who come together to try to solve these complex problems in the kidney space. I started working with KHI on the Patient and Family Partnership Council in like 2017 and kind of worked my way up to that. So now I'm kind of in a place where we review, we kind of decide the direction of like what projects we're going to pursue. So that's really neat to kind of be in a completely different role. Working on a publication right now that's not associated with KHI, but It'll be looking at evaluating medical devices and patient-reported outcomes. And, I was just awarded the Celeste Lee Endowed Lectureship, so that just finished, and kind of taking a back seat right now with some of my advocacy efforts just because of school and trying to finish that, but I'm doing my advocacy in school as well.
Okay. I want to talk about your general experiences with ASN's Kidney Week 2023, and then we'll talk about the endowment lectureship, okay?
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about your general experiences with ASN Kidney Week.
I love ASN and I love their Kidney Week. I've been going since 2018. That was my first one with the PFPC. And then I went this year as faculty, but it's the largest conference in the US in the field of nephrology. It's a lot of physicians, hospital systems. It's not, I don't want to say it's not meant for patients. Patients are certainly welcome to come. We have patients that work on some of the KHI boards and projects, but really everyone's coming together to try to learn more about certain diseases, what's new and innovation. It's a great networking experience. Every year that I go, I learn something new and I meet a ton of new people, and it helps broaden my network. So it's an amazing experience, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who is able to register and go. Next year, it'll be in San Diego, so that's a really good reason to go to that one.
And where was this year's meeting?
It was in Philadelphia.
But a choice between Philly and San Diego. I think I'm on my way to San Diego.
Yeah, I didn't have the choice, but it was still good, regardless of it being in Philly.
All right. I understand that you won the Celeste Lee Endowed Lectureship Award. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Celeste Lee Endowed Lectureship was created in honor of Celeste Lee. She was the founding member of the Patient and Family Partnership Council back in 2015. And, she really led the way at the American Society of Nephrology in, getting physicians together and understanding the patient is really at the center of all the decisions we make and really should be the one in charge of directing their care. Unfortunately, she passed, so this lectureship was made in honor of her. Um, so basically, the award is chosen by people in ASN. So I didn't nominate myself or anything like that. It's given to a patient for their advocacy efforts, and it's an award to really remind people that patients are pivotal in, trials, healthcare, really anything to do with healthcare. They're an integral part of the team. So it was
Okay.
really an honor to get that. I was not expecting that at all.
Well, you're a big shot and everything. I expected it.
Thank you. It doesn't feel like that, but yeah, I was really, really honored to be awarded that.
You were talking about through your lecture the pros and cons that matter to most patients. Can you explain to us a little bit about the things that you spoke about?
Yes. So my lecture was titled Pros and Proms Are What Are Most Important to Patients. Pros and proms are patient-reported outcomes and patient-reported outcome measures. So it's just an acronym that we use in research. When I started with the PFPC, I actually had a really unique perspective because I worked at nonprofits making healthcare measures, like quality measures, and a type of quality measure is a patient-reported outcome. So it's kind of weird how life works out that the PFPC had a lot of projects for patient-reported outcomes. My first project was on patient-reported outcomes in novel renal devices, which essentially is trying to figure out what outcomes would be most important to patients in new medical devices, like new dialysis devices, anything related to the kidney replacement therapies. So that was really, really unique and really rewarding, and that kind of solidified what I was going to study for school. And I also did a similar project on patient-reported outcomes and skeletal muscle cramping. So really taking the problem of muscle cramping on hemodialysis and trying to get to the bottom of like figuring out like what does that even mean? Because it happens to all patients on dialysis, but there's not actually like a solid definition of what that means. So figuring that out and figuring out like how the cramping affects patients and their care and in their general lives. And the other project I did was on vascular access. So figuring out what outcomes are important to patients on vascular access. This is long-winded, but basically patient-reported outcomes are just things that are most important to patients. It's quality of life. It's the ability to be active and do the things that you want to do and reach your goals. And outcome measures are the way that we measure those outcomes in a standardized way. So my lecture just kind of covered those projects and why they're important and what we need to keep continuing to do to keep that at the forefront of medicine.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you had a relationship with Kidney Solutions and Kent Bressler. Can you talk to us a little bit about your relationship with Kidney Solutions? By the way, our
Yeah.
sponsor.
Yes. Kent and Kidney Solutions is amazing. I want to say it was reflecting back, I think we actually wrote a paper in 2017 with two other advocates on GFR and like albumin and urea. So that was a really unique experience, but I got to speaking with him because I learned, that he had a transplant for I think it's 35 years now, and he also has FSGS, and just connecting with him and it just gives you hope even though like I was healthy at the time. Like it's amazing to hear someone who's had even more success than you have and just connecting with people that have like believe in the same things. For example, like really like why are we waiting for patients to go on dialysis? Like we should not even get to that point. We should just let people get transplants and like get that process started when your kidneys are failing. So he's been a great friend of mine for a few years now, and I join the Kidney Solutions calls on Mondays every now and then, and it's just a great group that really connects with patients and helps them understand the process of what they're going to and connecting to other patients who might be able to give input, and just like not going through that experience alone, I think is so important because it's really terrifying when you're going through it.
True. Are there any final statements that you would like to make to our audience tonight about anything that you've experienced in the kidney world?
I would say that it's really important to have hope. Thinking back to when I was first diagnosed, I really didn't think life would get any better for me, but I always had like a little glimmer of hope in the background. And I don't know why I had it, but it just kept me going even when times were really tough. And it encouraged me to really take my health into my own hands, even with a scary disease like FSGS with no approved treatments and no standard of care. And it opened my mind and taught me a lot about living life. So I would say you always have to have hope, and always be involved in your care. You're the person that hires the doctor, like they work for you. So if it's not working, I would say expand your horizons. That's one lesson that I wish I learned the first time. And yeah, I mean, life goes on, and you got to connect with people and be in your community, and just you got to keep going. So
All right, Amanda, great job tonight. I had
thank
so
you.
much fun listening to you talk, and I'm sure our audience learned so much, and it's great to hear about what's going on at Kidney Week. And I'm very proud of you. I go around, I tell my friends all the time, yeah, my buddy Amanda, she won the Celeste Lee Endowment this year, man. So she's
Thank
like
you. I
super cool and everything.
appreciate Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always so great to talk to you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I hope to have you back sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I'll come back anytime. Just let me know.
Great, great. All right, I have some things I have to button up with our audience. I'm going to let you go. I promised an hour. I got you in a little bit over a half hour, so I was a good boy tonight. And I'm sure our audience appreciates that Uncle Jim didn't go on and on and on for an hour and a half or two. But at any rate,
No,
just a wonderful job tonight, Amanda. I appreciate you coming on
thank
and
you.
talking to me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Have a good evening. All
Thanks.
right, folks. That is our broadcast for this evening. I hope you all enjoyed our friend Amanda Grandinetti. Um, just did a wonderful job of explaining things tonight. And this Friday, fingers crossed, because I've screwed this interview up twice. Fingers crossed, I have Dr. Dahl coming on. Very, very, very experienced PKD researcher, somebody that is always speaking or writing or has new research that she's disclosing. And she's scheduled for this Friday. She's a Yale graduate, and her pedigree, wow, it's amazing. And well thought of by the PKD Foundation, for example. So you don't want to miss that on Friday. And let's all keep our fingers crossed that the recording works and Uncle Jim doesn't get sick between now and then. That'd help, right? So, anyway, great job tonight by Amanda. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and tell your friends, and please check out the replay. Okay, we'll be posting the replay, and I've got 2 or 3 of them going at once now. So all kinds of interesting things for you to watch. So, any rate, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you on Friday.